Okay.
Hey, John.
Hey, Ted.
How you
What's
doing,
up?
buddy?
I'm good.
What are we
How can I
talking
not
about?
be good? I'm in New Bern, North
Uh,
Carolina.
How can you not be good just because you're John Andrews?
Well, there's that, but
I'm trying to learn that, and you're one of my examples. I mean, seriously, about just your attitude about everything, and I love it. And, let's talk to what are we talking about today anyway, besides that?
well, we're talking about employee advocacy.
Oh, and what's not working with employee advocacy and maybe how to make it better, I guess.
Yeah, literally, there were three articles that popped up in my stream last week, things I was reading that said, look, employee advocacy is great. A lot of people are struggling to make their employee advocacy programs, successful. There are some roadblocks that are common that people are having. People don't participate. People, that they're not seeing ROI from their programs. They're making these huge investments, and employee advocacy is great. I mean, who doesn't want their employees advocating on behalf of their business? I think there now are some common things that people are experiencing that they can deal with, and very transparently, we believe at Photify we have a solution to a couple of those problems. We aren't an employee advocacy platform, but the ability to be a part, to participate in the content creation process rather than just sharing, just syndicating content that my company's made, I think is something that we can help with. And we can help both on the marketing kind of consistency side and on the employee engagement side. So,
Well, this is something you and I have talked about for a long time. I've always been a big advocate for employees in general, especially making employees into advocates. You and I talk about it a lot. We've watched the evolution and the progress that it's made. And for a long time, even from the beginning, especially coming from you, because of the way you look from the shopper's point of view, you always say, well, it's repetitive content. People are seeing the same thing. People aren't necessarily involved in it. And I think a lot of those things have come to play in that there's a lot of successful employee advocacy programs, but they're not creating, let's say, the ROI that you were talking about. The long-term engagement has been difficult to keep. People jump in and then maybe there's not a lot of value. One of the things I always stressed was don't just include stuff in your employee advocacy about your company, include stuff that's important to your employees, about their families, about travel, about education. And then, with us working at Photify, you've really developed, I believe, in your mindset, this great solution of how do we get employees involved. Like, no, Photify is not an employee advocacy platform, but it is a platform that greatly empowers employee advocacy. And I think that all the work that you've been doing and the team has been doing to gear in that direction, to give the analytics that are necessary, to give the ease and simplicity that's necessary. So what you and I talked about a lot, and finally, I think you were the first one that said it, was, let's talk about employee created content versus employee generated content.
sure.
Because I believe in most employee advocacy programs, the word generated is used, meaning that employees are sharing content. They're generating an impression. Whereas where we're going with the word created put in there is that employees are part of the creation process.
Yeah, I think it's a subtle, and we've written about this. One of the things that I think is interesting, if you Google employee created content, Google doesn't even recognize what that is, right? So Google can't even process that idea. So Google will give you results for employee generated content, right? So I think, Google looks at the world and processes what it sees, and it tells you what it thinks based on what people are talking about. So nobody's talking about this idea. Now, you'll begin to see in that search employee created content, actually, that we've created. Amazing. And how that affects Google, I think people should take notice of, because that's how it works. But
Perfect example of what you can do with your employees.
Of course, but I think if you look at some of the fundamental problems, exactly what you said, if an employee doesn't feel like they're part of the process, if I'm just sharing, if I'm just sharing content that's been created by my marketing department or by my PR folks or corporate comm or whatever, that's fine. but you know what? You don't really need my help to do that. You can do that. Yes, it's great if I share it through my networks, but most people are probably not going to share just blatant commercial content through their personal channels for good reason, right?
And a good point you recently made in the post that you put on LinkedIn was that you can do that much more efficiently if just gaining that reach and frequency is your plan. There's ways you can do that very efficiently.
By paid media.
Right.
By paid media.
And there's nothing wrong with getting your employees to help, but they're not going to scale it for you if you need scale. But what they can scale is localized, employee-created, contextual content that their followers actually understand and appreciate.
Well, and if they can make it their own, there are two huge benefits, right? One is they have a part in the process. Right. So now there's some authenticity to it that you can't get if I just share something, right? If I just share something, it's great. But by making them part of the process, they're now participating. What I call the 5th P of marketing. Marketing is now participation. It's Absolutely. Not just it's not just all the things we learned as marketers, right?
And one of the clients who tested this, their name will go unsaid here right now, just because they're in a testing phase. But one of the things that the lead person there spoke about and got up on stage and spoke about was the way it empowered her employees to feel a part of that creation process, to work together. Team members from different units who used to just necessarily compete were all of a sudden creating content together. Think about the value of that towards a business.
Yeah, you know what? That is a super important point, because I don't remember in the influencer marketing days what our influencer marketing days, when we were heavily involved in that business. What influencers told us time after time is they hated to compete. So all the gamification, all these things sound amazing, right? But I don't really want to compete with my coworkers. I want to collaborate with my coworkers. I want to do things with them, and we listened to them on that. We never did. We never did those things where you're pitting people against each other. By the way, if that's your model, great. I don't personally believe in it, so it's not something we will do. But I believe you build on top of. So give me the content tools that I need with the messaging. It's okay to align around an idea, or we're launching a new product, or we have new service, whatever. And then let me decide the best way to make a piece of content for my audience, because you don't know my audience as well as I do, and actually where to share it, when to share it, all of those things. The best data stream that we have at Photify, I believe, is what content is popular that your community is using, right? I always think that's interesting, because it's usually not what I would expect. So that's kind of cool. And where it's shared, because it ain't Facebook, right? It's not what you would expect. And I interpret that as I share things like you do. I share things where I get the most traction, right? And I know for some things, I get the most traction on LinkedIn. For some things, I might get the most traction on text, or I might get the most traction on WhatsApp, or whatever, right? And it depends. I can segment my audience. Yeah.
I'm going to cut you off here because we've got about 30 seconds to go before our limit. What we want to put down, our timing.
Okay.
I just want to say that to add in what you're saying is give them the branded assets, give them the tools to use those things so they can feel comfortable, so that you can feel comfortable, so the guardrails are up. Let them create content they love using the things that you want them to add. Oh, there goes the alarm.
There we go.
And you're going to get that value. But start thinking about employee creation versus employee generate. ECC, hashtag ECC, employee-related content, employee-created content.
Employee-related content. Maybe that's another thing.
And that too, yeah.
All right.
Great talking
Have
to you,
a good
John.
day, man. Appreciate it.